I'm Jeannie Caldwell, and welcome to In His Presence. Today we're going to talk about a very serious issue, human trafficking. You may not think it's close to you, but it is. I want to welcome Louise Allison and Bailey Winterroad. Let me shake your hands. It's good to have you both here.
Thank you.
And you're doing a wonderful, wonderful work. And so we first heard about this, and I said, let's get them on the show, and so people will know about it. Well, I want one of you, and if you want to be you, you can. Tell me, what is the organization PATH?
Well, PATH stands for Partners Against Trafficking Humans. And when we originally started, we looked at what is the #1 need in the state, and we talked to law enforcement agencies, and the one thing that they said that they needed the most was a shelter, a place for girls to go once they're rescued or arrested. And so we were established mainly to provide housing for those rescued victims.
Oh, that's wonderful. What is human trafficking? You want to answer that?
Sure. Human trafficking is basically modern-day slavery. So the exploitation of other human beings, either by force, physically, fraud, presenting false ideas and lies, or coercion, convincing someone, bribing them, or threatening to hurt other family members or something unless they do what is asked. And that can either be in the form of sex slavery, which is what PATH is first looking to help victims of, or trafficking, labor trafficking, which can be in a variety of fields as well.
Well, where is human trafficking taking place?
It's basically all over the world. People think that it's in other countries, but it's here as well. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, Little Rock, especially in Arkansas, has so many major highways. Highway 40 goes all across the country, so that's a main corridor for moving victims. Also, the bus stops here in Little Rock, because Highway 40 and Highway 30 intersect in Little Rock, so a lot of trafficking and selling girls and women takes place at those bus stops. And another reason that Arkansas is susceptible to trafficking is because a lot of girls from small towns can be coerced or believe those lies and are trafficked as a result of fraud. So we've had a few instances where we were able to talk to girls who had seen online a modeling job that sounded like a great deal, and in reality it would have been a trafficking situation.
Terrible. That is terrible. Well, let's watch part of a video that gives information about this problem.
I was sexually abused for the first time when I was 13, and I left home at the age of 14. And the next 2 years I lived on the streets. I was beat, raped, drugged, left for dead. I would wake up places I didn't know where I was. I spent most of my time thinking of ways to die. I had gotten to where I was using more and more drugs just to stay so messed up that I didn't see who I was, what I'd become, or what my life was like.
Shackled in pain, don't be fooled by the smile on my face. Dying alive in this wretched place, and I'm crying. left to survive. And against my will, they take what's mine, and they trample on what's left inside. And crying anyone see my pain? Anyone feel my ache? Anyone rescue me? Help me to
I don't think that people understand how big it is out there and how once we're in it, we're trapped. They say, why don't they just get out? We're trapped. We're trapped into that lifestyle, into fears, and then the shame coupled with the fear holds us in. We don't know how to get out. We truly don't know. It's like somebody needs to reach in and grab us and pull us out. I wanted so badly for someone to reach in and grab me and pull me out of it.
Wow. Louise, talk about your personal experience.
Well, I was trafficked from the age of 14 to 16 in Dallas, on the streets of Dallas. I lived there, and I was moved from one set of men to another. We as in me and the other girls, we were arrested a lot of times, several times, for transporting drugs and for prostitution. But because of the fact that we were told to give an alias, no one knew who I was. So I gave an alias and said that I was 21, and I was always bailed out by the other girls, and then we were back on the streets again. At the age of 16, I was arrested for the last time because they found out somehow who I was, and they contacted my mom, and I was put into a private boarding school where I stayed from the age of 16 to 18. It was fortunate for me because I think I would have been dead if I had not been pulled out. We were frequently drugged against our will, and I got to where we were giving the drugs to each other according to what the men told us to do, and taking them. We did whatever we were told to do whenever we were told to do it. I was able to make up 4 years of school in 2 years and graduate with honors. And when I left there at boarding school, I really felt like after being away from it for 2 years, I had my act together, and walked out those gates at the age of 18 and realized that I was still 14 inside, and I was still basically dead inside, and not having a plan and not having any place to go. I went right back to it. And it took a while for me to get out of it, and it was hard, but I really was one of the fortunate ones because so many of the girls come out with broken bones, head injuries, sexually transmitted diseases, addiction, and I had none of that. I never got pregnant, never got an STD. I was never addicted, no matter how much they forced us to drink or drug, and I was just very well, God took care of me.
He did. Well, why is it so hard for victims to get out of this lifestyle?
Well, there's a couple different reasons. One of them is fear. Some girls are afraid to leave, especially if they're threatened. Someone that they love is threatened, such as, we know where you live, we know where your mom lives. One girl in particular that was trafficked from here, she was being trafficked by her boyfriend, and when she tried to leave, he said, "That's okay, you can go, I'm not going to keep you, but I bet your 9-year-old sister can do this." So she was so afraid that it would happen to her 9-year-old sister, what was happening to her, that she stayed in the situation. And there's a piece of us that dies inside, and when that happens, we don't know how to get out. I never thought of getting out. It was just day-to-day existence for me. I just did what I was told to do when I was told to do it.
That is something. Well, how did you begin working on a plan to help rescue victims?
Well, actually, it wasn't me, it was God. So it was wonderful because I just would go into prayer time at night, and the Lord began to speak to me and say, just give me a business plan and start telling me that these are the places you need to go and these are the people you need to talk to, and it just kind of morphed into this agency. And I'm telling you, it's just totally Holy Spirit led. I wish I could even, if it would take way too many programs for me to tell you all the wonderful things that God has done within PATH, but we have a wonderful volunteer team and an excellent board, and we are just blessed over and over again with the gifts that people have given us. And it was just totally God. I had nothing to do with it. If I did, it would probably be messed up.
Well, how did you come to know God and His grace?
Actually, I didn't know the Lord growing up, and nor did I know Him on the streets. And it was just not too many years ago, about 10 years ago, that I came to know the Lord, and He began working in my life. And then when I moved to Little Rock 6 years ago, it was a wonderful, godly woman who reached her hand out to me and loved me, not in spite of the things that had happened, but because of that, and led me to a Christ-centered recovery program, Celebrate Recovery. And the Lord began to work in my life and heal me. And I wasted over 30 years of my life with suicidal thoughts and hiding behind the shame and the guilt and the fear of what had happened to me as a child. And that's the number one thing that we want through PATH, is to give these girls a safe place to go and a safe place to live, so they don't have to walk around for 30 years hiding behind the horrors of the life they lived in trafficking.
Well, who did you join with to form PATH? Did you help form it, or was
Well, Louise and I met in January through a mutual friend. I had heard about PATH on the news first, actually, and then a friend of mine said something about knowing the lady who was doing that. So my friend Jean introduced us, and Louise, at that point, PATH was looking for someone to help coordinate all the volunteers. Like she just said, we're so blessed every week. There's new people emailing saying, I heard through a friend or someone, what can I do to help? So that's kind of my role, is responding to those. And then Nathan Chenault is the program director. So he is developing the therapy program and all the ins and outs of the girls' daily life, what that will look like at the facility.
Well, talk about the task force that formed in 2011 in Arkansas.
Well, actually, there's been a couple different things. There was originally a task force formed to look at human trafficking, what it's about, and what we need to do about it. And then there's been a couple different groups that have formed since. Because it's fairly new in Arkansas, nothing solid has ever gelled as of yet, but they're still working on it. There's a lot of laws that need to be changed across the United States. The Polaris Project did a report card on laws across the United States, and Arkansas got an F because our laws need to be changed. It's hard for us to prosecute. There's a lot of just new issues that Arkansas has to look at. And PATH will have the very first shelter in Arkansas for rescue victims. There's none other in Arkansas. And there's fewer than 1,000 beds across the United States. And there are 300,000 kids under the age of 18 being trafficked in the United States. So you can imagine there's a huge need. So, so the task force, which was formed here, is working towards what do we have, what's available, and what do we need to put in place to make sure that these victims are taken care of and the arrests are made.
That's something. Well, why is safe housing such an important factor in rescuing these victims? Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I think first of all, as the laws change, part of that is not viewing the girls and these women as criminals. I mean, Louise said she was arrested, spent nights in jail with prostitution charges. But as we shift the laws, we're going to be able to honestly view them more as victims, and then jail isn't the right place for them. There are some women's shelters, obviously, that deal with different types of abuse, but not the post-traumatic stress and all of the emotional and mental challenges that come with being trafficked. So there is a need for, more specifically, a trafficking facility that can help with that recovery. And then part of the safe housing is that it needs to be 24/7, kind of a group home where they can support each other rather than just a program they would go to during the day or something.
So there's a couple different pieces to a safe place for them to go. One of them is that if I had thought as a child when I was being trafficked, or even as a young adult, that there was a safe place where I could go, where people would love me and take care of me and help me heal, I would have gone. But there was nothing in existence. And so a lot of these girls, if there's nothing, they're not going to be able to have that chance to heal. In addition, a lot of girls won't turn evidence against their perpetrators or against the traffickers because of that fear. If they have a safe place to go and they know that they're safe and they begin to heal, then they're more likely to turn evidence.
Well, let's watch another part of the video from Path.
Bring me water, bring me hope. Give me freedom, let me go. Let this nightmare steal away. Turn my darkness into as the door it opens wide, I am braced for another night, leaving all I am aside. How can I survive another time?
I thank God every night I climb into my bed. I thank God for a real bed and for real food. We need to let people know that it's real and that we have to reach them, even if it's just one or one at a time. Just to reach in and grab them and pull them out and give them a bed and give them warm food and give them love and give them hope for a new life.
Another time, and I'm crying out again to
Why do you think there is such a market for this type of trafficking?
Well, it's a lucrative business. There's a lot of money to be made, and as long as there's money into something, whether it's drugs or gun or sex, then there's going to be people selling it. And people actually buy it. As long as it's out there, people buy it. And you know, one of the bad things is that the Americans around the world, or Americans are the number one purchaser of sex. The world is very sexualized. It's in every commercial, it's in every show. People talk about sex a lot, and they buy and sell it.
Wow. Well, what does Path provide for victims?
So immediately when a girl calls our hotline, or if we're put in connection with a victim, the first things she needs are pretty obvious: a bed, a nice place to stay, warm meal, new clothes probably. So we have a facility with beautiful bedrooms that were just decorated by different women's groups. So those are waiting for each girl. And then beyond that, there's one-on-one counseling and therapy. There'll be Bible studies offered, recreational and emotional therapies that will be available for her to participate in, Bible studies available. So a lot of just education. I even forgot that, in GED preparation,
yeah.
things like that. So.
That's wonderful. Well, talk about the residential program. What's involved?
Well, like Bailey said, we're going to look at education. A lot of these girls, if they were pulled out of school at a young age, have not finished their education, so we're going to look at that. If there's life skills. I had no idea how to have a bank account or how to cook, or so many things that while other girls were at home learning these daily living skills and how to have a relationship, I was just trying to survive. So we're going to teach those daily living skills. And in addition, we're going to have, like Bailey said, we're going to have arts and crafts, and we're going to have music therapy and dance therapy. And we've got a lot of excellent people that have stepped up to the plate and said, let me teach computer skills and just all kinds of wonderful things. One of the main things is they'll have group and individual therapy, and that will give them time to be able to start working through those issues. And we have trained therapists on staff that will be able to help them with that. It's about an 18-month program, and not that all the girls are going to need the whole 18 months, but we're going to make sure that they get as much time as they need to be able to heal. And then we have a 13-month follow-up, and with that, the girls are going to come back every week and attend the group therapy sessions, and then every other week, and then once a month, and they're going to slowly phase out. And that's for a couple different reasons. Number one, we don't just turn them loose so they have to fend for themselves and they flounder and die, but we'll be able to slowly reintegrate them into the community and transition them out. And it also, what it does is it gives that connection, it keeps that connection with the girls that are in the facility so that those relationships are built. And so the other girls will see the success stories, and then hopefully some will become mentors to the girls that are still there.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Well, what's involved in group and individual therapy? You can.
Well, I'm not the therapist. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like.
Okay. What about you?
Do
You want to answer it? Or?
Sure. The group therapy, to begin with, they have a goals group in the morning, and that gives them something to work for every day. So they are going to have to set their own individual goals, and that's going to have to be something that they need to work on. And then in the evenings, it gives them this chance, a wrap-up group gives them a chance to talk about how successful they are. We're going to set them up to be a success, regardless of how small or how big that little thing is that happened during the day. They will be a success. They will no longer be a failure. And then the individual helps them work through the trauma that has happened to them.
Well, how do you help with education and GED preparation?
We're working with the Little Rock School District for those girls. Right now, we will just be providing for adults for a while. We have a property inside Little Rock that will eventually, when we're ready, we'll be able to take adolescents and adults, but right now we just have adults. But we have folks that understand the GED program that will be coming in and helping the girls with that. And with the adolescents, like I said, we'll be working with the Little Rock School District for that. And then the girls, the adults will be able to start a job. They'll be in the program totally for the first few months, and then they'll be going to a part-time job and eventually to a full-time job as they transition out.
Wow. Well, what are the life skills training you provide? Either one of you?
Everything, pretty much everything. I mean, truly, I really did not know how to do banking. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know just the basic things. A lot of these girls have been taught to be sexualized, and so the way that they do their hair or their makeup or their clothes is very provocative. And so we're going to help them just learn how to be a lady and have fun and embrace their femininity instead of being afraid of it, and how to have relationships, healthy relationships, and grooming, cleaning, cooking. Can you think of anything else?
Well, just all those things that come from living in a normal home situation. I mean, things that we don't just take for granted, that I take for granted. But I think it'll come more naturally once they're together in the home with the house parent and just practicing life together.
Well, why do you have Bible studies?
Oh my goodness.
That's a funny question almost.
This is a
isn't it?
Christ-centered recovery program, and so Christ is at the very center of every single thing we do, and without him, I mean, he is the healer. So without him, nothing is going to work. Now, we are not going to force the girls to go to church. We are not going to force the girls to go to Bible study. They've been forced to do enough. But we are so going to shine like Christ that they're going to want it. And we have a wonderful couple that's going to come in, and they're not only going to model Christ, but they're going to model what a healthy relationship between a healthy couple is, and the girls are going to be able to see that.
Wow. Now, if you've just opened the first shelter in Arkansas, what made that possible?
Oh, wonderful people and wonderful churches. We have been surrounded with so many people. Like Bailey was saying earlier, there are women's groups that have adopted rooms and decorated it themselves. There have been other people who have donated furniture. There have been people that have donated the funds to be able to do this. And churches, First Assembly of God, Fellowship Bible Church, Geyer Springs, so many churches have come together and loved us and embraced us. And oh, it's just going to be, I'm so excited. It's going to be magnificent.
Well, how do you fund your operations?
Personal donations in churches.
Personal
Yes.
donations in churches?
Yes.
Wow. Well, to contact PATH, you may write to Post Office Box 21066, Little Rock, Arkansas. And their phone number is area 501-301-4357. And their website is pathsaves.org. Well, we've only got 2 minutes, but why must we all get involved in stopping human trafficking?
It's our God-given responsibility to protect our daughters. We've just simply all got to step up to the plate and do everything that we can to protect them and pull those out that are being traumatized.
So what's the future?
Well, hopefully we'll put an end to it.
Well, that's good. I'll agree with you on that. Well, is there anybody, do you have any last remarks?
Not necessarily. I think maybe the only thing I would say is going back to the question of why is there a market for it? It's really just sin. And so why do we need to do something about it? In obedience to Christ and God's plan to have
Mercy.
His kingdom come here on earth.
Absolutely.
Miss Mercy. Well, do you have anything that you want to add to it? We've only got 1 minute.
I would love to take this opportunity to thank everyone. The churches that have loved us and embraced us, and every one of those individuals, every volunteer, every dollar that's been given to us. It is such a huge blessing. And I guarantee you, we may not know who these girls are, but it makes a difference to each and every one of them.
Well, I agree with that. And I want to say I'm so thankful that you both came on
Thank you.
and shared your heart with the people. And I guarantee you people are going to be calling, writing, and doing everything to find out how to get in touch with you. And of course, we've given them that information. But I just want you all to know, every one of you to know, that have been watching this program, that this is a very dire need in Arkansas, in Little Rock, all over the world, but we don't want it in our state. So I want you to remember, in His presence is fullness of joy. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today for In His Presence. You can write Jeannie Caldwell at Post Office Box 22007, Little Rock, Arkansas 72221, or email her at jeanniecaldwell@vtntv.com. To order a DVD of today's program, call 1-800-264-2525 and ask for the offer number on the screen. Join us next time as we meet in His Presence.